afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being and joining us this afternoon in my Learn Symposium. I'm so pleased to introduce and welcome my professor, Professor Ahmed Abdessalam, Professor of Clinical Pharmacology at Shams University. Today will be sharing with us his expert opinion on an important topic, which is biosimilar. Please, Dr. Ahmed. Please, Dr. Ahmed, can you unmute your mic?
ايوه كده I'm muted. مساء الخير.
Yes, so clear.
Can I start now?
Yes, can you please share the screen?
Yes. Is my screen shared now?
Yes.
Okay.
You can proceed, sir. You can proceed.
Okay, I'll start now.
Yes.
مساء الخير يا جماعة، أنا الدكتور أحمد عبد السلام، أستاذ الكلينيكال فارماكولوجي في كلية الطب جامعة عين شمس، وأنا اتشرفت بالمؤتمر بتاعه السابق. كان ليا محاضرة وكنت في وسطكم، كنت سعيد بيكم جدا، لكن حظنا بقى المرة دي إن إحنا مش متقابلين فيس تو فيس، لكن ربنا إن شاء الله يرجعنا تاني بالخير يا رب. الوقت اللي مخصصينه لي ضيق، فأنا هحاول أكون كونسايز بقدر الإمكان، لكن انفورماتيف على قد ما أقدر. المحاضرة بتاعتي أو البرزنتيشن بتاعي هيدور في الأربع نقط دول. أنا بس كنت عايز أقول لكم إن أنا بالإضافة إن أنا أستاذ في كلية الطب جامعة عين شمس، ليا أنشطة أخرى، فأنا مستشار في وزارة الصحة لشؤون الدواء.
Can we talk in English as we have a lot of guest attendees foreigners?
مش سامع حضرتك.
If we can make it all in English as we have a lot of foreigners.
Oh, okay.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, my presentation contains 4 points. First is the quality and the regulatory development of biosimilars. Second, market penetration and uptake. Third, the pharmacoeconomics and a final issue. My message to you all is that I want you to know that I am impressed by introduction of the biosimilars on 2 conditions. First, this biosimilar should be manufactured by a big efficient company and approved by a strong regulatory body, specifically the FDA or EMA, or together or both. Because if I have a biosimilar that is manufactured by this big company and approved by this robust regulatory body, so I should trust and I should treat it as if it is the brand. Now we have many biosimilars. Actually, the EMA or Europe started this achievement, and first biosimilar in Europe starts in 2006. Now in 2020, Europe have approved about 50 biosimilars. Europe followed by the WHO in 2009, which put its guidelines on similar biotherapeutic products. Then both are followed by the FDA, which starts in 2009, and in 2010 she put its Act of Biologic Price and Competition and Innovation Act, which was signed as a part of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. Since then, a rapid evolution of guidelines from other countries. The first point I want to stress upon is that biosimilars are not generics. What are generics? These are very small drugs, the usual drugs. Their chemistry is well known. It's very easy in the lab to manufacture an identical copy of this small molecule, and you can be sure that the molecule is identical to the parent compound or the original compound, and then you will be more sure if the pharmacokinetics are the same through doing bioequivalence. Therefore, if you have a small molecule having these physicochemical properties and bioequivalence properties comparable, so we say that they are interchangeable, and we can replace the reference compound by this generic compound. In case of biological compounds, this will never be the same, because small molecules or biologics are not small molecules. They are proteins. They are not synthesized in the lab. They are synthesized in the living organisms. They are very complex, and they need a lot of details and a lot of efficiency of the company. And they are difficult to characterize. They have lengthy and complex purification processes, very easy to be contaminated, and any slight change in the manufacturing process can affect the final product. They are sensitive to heat and shear. They are given parenterally. All these differences state that we should never consider biosimilars as generics. They are not generics, they are not biogenerics, and so on. And therefore, we said that biosimilars, they should be developed under strict regulatory pathways, as those of the FDA and WHO. And we can state that a medicinal product that has not been compared and shown to be similar to a reference product as indicated in EMA, FDA, or WHO guidelines, it will not be biosimilar. Now, the steps of approval of a biosimilar differs from that of the reference product, because the reference product originally we don't know knowledge about safety and efficacy, and it should do everything to prove that it is effective and safe. But in case of the biosimilar, we have already the knowledge about the original compound, and we want only to prove that it is very similar to the reference compound. So all what's needed from the biosimilar to prove comparativity, has comparative safety and efficacy as well as immunogenicity. So the manufacturer should prove the biosimilar has physical, chemical, and biological properties highly similar to the reference compound. And he should prove that there is no differences at all in clinical performance that support the approval of biosimilar. Minor variability is permitted or allowed when scientific evidence does not affect the safety and efficacy. And biosimilars are approved according to the same strict standards of quality, safety, and efficacy applied to any other medicine. So now we reached a point that here are the comparative studies, starting by quality studies, which are analytical, physical, and chemical, and functional. Then we have comparative non-clinical studies, and finally we have comparative clinical studies. All this work is mostly reduced in the clinical studies, whether in animal, in vivo animal, or in patients, as here we want only to prove that the biosimilar is very similar and is comparative as regards the efficacy, the safety, and the immunogenicity. And these are the pyramid of starting from below to above to prove that our product is very similar to the reference compound. of course, we stress that I'm speaking about protein. The finished medicine, both similar and reference, must have the same route of administration, the same methodology. Some differences are allowed on condition that it will not affect the safety or efficacy. And we now, to date, the great majority of biosimilars approved in the EU contain proteins. And the following table, this is insulin, one of the early biological products manufactured as biosimilars. This also is a big molecule in contrast to the very small generic molecules I have just mentioned. This is the growth hormone, which is bigger than insulin. And this is the huge product, or the monoclonal antibodies. And you know, as oncologists, and they are the leaders in this, the monoclonal antibodies are very, very important drugs. They constitute the major targeted therapy, whether in gastrointestinal diseases, in rheumatologic disease, and in oncology. And these are very important. And every day we see a newer product added to the armamentarium of treatment of oncology and cancer. And these compounds, we need them badly to treat patients. These are the biological products classes, either low molecular weight heparins, like enoxaparin, the growth hormones, growth factors. We have hormones, we have fusion proteins, 18 receptors, and monoclonal antibodies, different monoclonal antibodies. These are the monoclonal or the biological products approved by the EMA until April 2019. Up to 2020, they reach about 50 products. And these are the products approved by the FDA. The FDA approved about 17 products. I want you to look at the names in the EMA. They approve by this name for each company. For example, Humira, and we have here other companies. They have their names. In USA or the FDA asks the companies to give these names as you see. This is the scientific name. This is an abbreviated name for the company, and this is the name. So we have 3 parts for the approved name by the FDA. Once a product has been authorized as a biosimilar by the regulator, it should be considered by the prescriber as therapeutically equivalent. This is the basis of extrapolation of the indications. Now, can we extrapolate the indications, the many indications of the reference to the biosimilar? Yes, but in some cases we cannot. So extrapolation may be straightforward if the same receptors or active sites are the same in all indications. But for some monoclonal antibodies, extrapolation is more complicated because the monoclonal antibody can act on different receptors in different indications and can act on different targets in different indications. And so the biosimilar should prove that it is effective in all sites in order to extrapolate the indications, all indications. Now, the EMA, the FDA, and the oncology guidelines state that because biosimilars and their reference molecules are not identical, so they are not interchangeable. But the substitution is in your hands, in the hands of the physician, in the hands of the expert. He is the only one that has the right to change from the brand to the biosimilar if he trusts the biosimilar. And our trust depends upon 2 major points. First, the company should be a big company, an efficient company, not less or very similar to the company that manufactures the brand compound. The second point is that the approval should come from an efficient regulatory body, the EMA or the FDA. So if I have here in Egypt one company, a major company, a big company that manufactures this biosimilar and coming with an approval from the EMA and FDA, or fortunately both, I should accept, and therefore this will be very important, because I know monopoly makes the compounds almost always with high price, and if we give a chance to the very good biosimilar to enter and compete, and now in the market we can have the brand, the original, the reference compound, as well as 2 or 3 or more biosimilars with the same efficacy, the same safety, the same immunogenicity. If we believe in that, we should give chance, and then in the procurement, we give chance to all of these to compete with each other, giving me a lower price in order for my budget to treat not only one, but can treat 2 or 3 patients instead of one. So to be my budget to be effective, I should give chance for competition instead of monopoly. So which this of the last 13 years, the European Union monitoring system for safety, the severity or frequency of adverse effects between the reference compound and the biosimilars, the good and efficient biosimilars, are not different. In addition, we should put a good plan to manage risks. The pharmacovigilance should be through the whole life of the compound, and there should be a good tracing system to know if there is any adverse effect from the brand or for the biosimilar, to trace the compound in the market to know if there is any abnormal or unrecorded adverse drug reactions. So we now repeating to you that we need not only Egypt, but all over the world, starting with the United States, all Europe, all rich countries, they are trying and starting to lower the price of the treating patients. They are treating hard. They started in Europe, they started especially Denmark from 2009 to introduce the biosimilars. They succeeded to introduce them in Denmark, in England, in Germany, in France, and in Italy, and many areas in Europe, and also in USA. They started to introduce biosimilar for the same purpose as I told you, in order to treat more patients with the same budget. So all countries, even the rich countries, they do this and help the biosimilars to enter the market in order to compete with the reference compound, and all will be present in the market to serve our patients. Which I want to give you that the great companies tries to prevent the biosimilars from entering the market. This occurs in USA and occurs in Europe. They tries by all means not to. In USA, a big company have many patents which prevents some products which are approved by the FDA, but they cannot enter the market before 2023 because AbbVie tried a suit against them and prevented them from marketing, although they are approved since 2019 or 2018 or even 2016. So this is a proof that the biosimilar does not is very efficient, very effective, very similar, so long it is manufactured by a good company and approved by a good regulatory body. Here we have two studies, one in England, which compared the reference compound with the biosimilar and proved that the biosimilar, this is per patient saving for one patient, 2,300 I think euro or English pound. In non-Hodgkin lymphoma, about 5,000 by the biosimilar. Of course, this reduction in price will give us more patients to treat. Here also in Egypt, we have another study in trastuzumab, the biosimilar trastuzumab compared by the intravenous. We know that we have now original trastuzumab subcutaneous, and of course the administration cost is lower, but when the biosimilar gives reduction in the price, the final reduction is gives us a reduction in the total cost, and here we have 57 millions if we used the biosimilar for 1,000 patients, in contrast to 62.5 million Egyptian pounds, the originator subcutaneous, and 71 million for the originator if intravenous. And this is if we permit the biosimilar. Increasing the accessibility of the biosimilar will increase the difference in price and will give us a chance to treat more patients by the biological. And this is the result. And if we here, if the originator alone, we can treat 1,600 patients, and if the 50% give, we can treat more number of patients, so on and so on. Now, a point before I leave you and give a chance for discussion. A paper in 2020, I observed that they said that the subcutaneous fixed dose does not give the concentration of the first injection, and they tell us that they need to start with an intravenous, then we can continue by the subcutaneous. But they concluded that this needed further research, including larger control trials, and they tell us that this occurs mostly with obese patients with body surface area more than 30. So this can be considered, and you will be able to prove is this true or not, and you can put an eye on this. Thank you very much, and I'm ready for any question.
Thank you, Professor Ahmed Abdessalam, for the elegant, comprehensive presentation. Thank you all for your attention. Unfortunately, now we have to move to our next session as we are behind time. Thank you all.